This entitled mum refused to tell a babysitter that her kids were ill on 4 separate occasions, despite the fact that this babysitter has a chronic autoimmune illness that gets significantly worse whenever she gets ill. This is the story of how a Karen's lack of awareness caused this unfortunate girl to miss her 21st birthday. Entitled mum ruins my 21st birthday by conveniently neglecting to tell me that the child I nanny is sick, despite knowing I have an autoimmune-related chronic illness. I am a 21-year-old woman from the southern US, and I nannied for this entitled mum for 2 years. I have a chronic illness, which nobody knows the cause of, but it's theorized to be autoimmune as over 90% of cases test positive for autoimmune antibodies. If I get a flare-up, I'll be sick for a week and a half, while a normal person might be sick for 3 days. I also get deconditioned and fatigued. The entitled mum of this story was told of my illness at the beginning of my job. I cared for her 2 children, Max, who is 5, and Daisy, 8. Now, Max is not potty trained despite being 5. For clarity, he just turned 5 recently, and his mum mentioned several times that she was trying to potty train him. Now, I saw the kid's potty, but he didn't use it while I was there. He also refuses to wipe himself. I have let him poop directly into my hands while he was lying on the floor, not 3 feet from the nearest toilet, because he threw a tantrum and didn't want to. And yes, I wiped his butt after. He throws toys at me and tantrums often. He breaks things and then points at me and yells, "It's your fault!" Daisy has bullied kids and screams bloody murder randomly to get attention. She calls Max names, stupid, dumb, annoying. Her favorite game is Rich versus Poor, where of course, every time she makes me poor. If I go to the bathroom, she will stand outside, and she sneaks around, stealing things she isn't allowed to, goes through my belongings, grabs things without asking, and has broken my phone before. One time I told her I ran out of phone data, so I couldn't let her use it, and her response was, "Just buy a new one." Okay, look, I want to be clear. I am not blaming the kids. They mimic behaviors that were modeled by others. They seem normal, but I don't know if they have any issues. This is to show how much I gave to the job. Their entitled mum neglected to tell me the kids were sick 4 times during the past few months. Here's the story of the first time. Daisy is always hyper. I try to be patient with her because I genuinely don't know if she has behavioral issues and it's not my place to ask. Today, she was calm and had bedhead. She was in casual clothes, but I thought nothing of it. The entitled mum said nothing. When she was gone, Daisy brags to me that she stayed home from school. I asked why, and she said, "I'm sick." I panicked, but I figured her entitled mum was just busy taking care of 2 young kids and forgot to mention it. When she came home, she made a beeline to Daisy. I think she thought she was out of my earshot because she whispered to her quietly, saying, "Poor baby, how are you? Do you feel better?" Luckily, I have great hearing and caught it. As soon as I went home, I cleaned up. Now the second time, again, the entitled mum acted like nothing was wrong. I was not told her kids were sick. When she left, they said, "Guess what?" I ask, "What?" And Daisy again says, "We're sick." Smiley face. I decided to probe and I asked, "How do you know?" Max says, "I threw up twice." Daisy jumps in, "I threw up once." I asked when, and Max said, "Yesterday." I got a cold as soon as I was home and was mildly sick for the rest of the week. At this point, I realized I was intentionally not being told and told family members I wanted to quit. But they told me how mean and terrible I was because you're helping a mother and they can't help it. And babies. The third time, I went to take care of Max. I was told it would be easy and only for a few hours. Within 15 minutes, I hear an ear-splitting crying and go upstairs to find Max sobbing that he had diarrhea and nightmares. I felt bad, so I changed him and wiped the liquid poop off his bare butts. I put him back to bed and he woke up again with more diarrhea. I repeat the cycle and he tells me after I'm done, "Can I tell you a secret?" I say, "Yes, of course. What?" He says, "I'm sick. I have a cold." He hugs me because he's scared and sneezes into my face. His entitled mum again mentions absolutely nothing when she comes home. After that session, I was sick for a week with diarrhea, stomach cramps, brain fog, and joint pain during finals week. At this point, I decided I was going to quit. Yet again, I was gaslit and told I would regret my decision, but I made up my mind. The fourth time. This was the last day after I made up my mind to quit. I was told again this day would be easy. Max woke up within 15 minutes sobbing. I waited a few minutes to see if he would go back to sleep. I then hear the biggest fit of coughing I've ever heard, so I go upstairs, and lo and behold, he is coughing up a storm and says he woke up with nightmares and needed to be changed. I changed him. Luckily not diarrhea, but still vile, and he told me again, "Can I tell you a secret? I have a little cold. I feel nauseous and I have diarrhea and a cough." He was terrified, so I stayed in the room with him until the session ended. He coughed the whole time. Again, his entitled mum mentioned nothing. I should mention that out of these times, 3 out of 4 of them were date nights. Only 1 was school related. Also, the entitled mum knew that I had gotten sick after one of the days. The "I have a secret" phrasing the kids used makes me think the kids were told not to tell me they were sick. I don't regret being there for the kids while they were sick, or being there with Max when he was scared and couldn't sleep. I do feel upset that I'm missing an important event because of something that was easily preventable. This entitled mum was nice and accommodating otherwise, but this was something serious that affected me a lot. So here I am, sick for 4 days with my 21st birthday 3 days away, and I will spend it ill, unable to go anywhere, and with an autoimmune flare-up. My birthday, health, and Memorial Day weekend for that matter is ruined because this entitled mum decided that her being overwhelmed was a bigger problem than me being chronically ill. I just needed to rant. Thank you for listening. I love you all. Hope you have a blessed day. I'm sorry, that is just so poor. This Karen is prioritizing herself and her lack of an ability to organize a babysitter correctly in time over your health. That is disgusting. I'm sorry, OP, but you have to just get rid of them right now. Do not babysit them anymore. They need to go and find someone else. I'm sorry, that's just awful. Imagine telling your 5 and 8-year-old children to lie about the fact that they have an illness just so you can get a babysitter easily. What sort of person are you? That's bad enough. On top of the fact that this girl has chronic illnesses that are going to be exacerbated by her getting ill. Oh, that's absolutely disgusting. Let's carry on. Now, this next story is an update from one that we had a few days earlier on my channel. If you haven't yet seen the story about the 14-year-old's birthday that gets cancelled by his own entitled parents, it's behind the I button right now on YouTube, and it's also down in the description on whatever platform you're on. You probably do need to listen to part 1 before you hear this, but anyway, here is an update to that story. When my parents were thrown out of a child's birthday party because they asked the stupidest thing imaginable. For those who read my previous post about how my parents tried to cancel my 14th birthday, they knew very well what my brother was like during birthday parties that weren't his own, and they tried to enable his behavior in any way they could just because he's a high-functioning autistic. Well, that rampant spoiling didn't go well with people outside of the family. Like, at all. This happened, I think, when my brother was around 6 or 7 years old. A neighbor boy down the street was having his birthday party, and my brother got invited because they were sort of friends, but probably because they knew my parents would bring a gift, and they did. I don't remember what it was though, nor do I really care. My parents dragged me along to this party, even though I'd have rather stayed home and played video games. I was bored and sitting down almost the entire time, so I got to witness pretty much the whole situation. It started when my brother was caught picking up gifts off the table and shaking them. The mother of the birthday boy told him to stop, and my parents tried to defend my brother and say he was harmless. But the lady knew what my brother was really like and had my parents move him away from the presents. There were some games that the kids were playing. I don't remember what they were, but I do remember my brother tried to be the center of attention as much as possible. With each game, the birthday boy got first pick or turn on them all because it was his birthday. But my brother freaked out because he didn't get to be first. And my parents asked the birthday boy's mother if my brother could get the first pick or the first turn. And the lady not only refused, but told my parents to get my brother under control or we'd all be asked to leave. Then came time for the cake. The mother lit the candles for the birthday boy, and the adults started singing the happy birthday song. They only got as far as singing the birthday boy's name in the song before my brother burst into a tantrum at the table. He grabbed the side of the table and started trying to violently shake it. My parents had to hold my brother back for a moment. And then I saw my mother go up and talk to the mother of the birthday boy again about something. and the poor lady looked positively disgusted. I learned later that she'd asked her to let my brother blow out the candles first, and then they could redo it for her son. The lady told my mother that it would be best if we left, and then they went back to trying to redo the birthday song. Well, my brother couldn't take it and ran to the table and shoved the whole cake right at the birthday boy. I mean, he used his arm to literally clothesline the cake and heave it right into that poor kid's face. The whole room was silent for a few seconds, and then a bunch of kids started laughing, then the birthday boy started crying, and the adults were all mortified, except for my parents. My mother just started hugging my brother tightly and acting like a Karen by saying this could have been prevented if they just let my brother blow out the candles first. The mother of the birthday boy was cleaning up chocolate cake off her son and screamed at my parents to get out. The other kids there started crying because it finally hit them that there was now no cake. My mother started dragging my brother out, but he broke free of her and then pushed over the table with all the presents on it. I grabbed him and held him in a headlock till my parents grabbed him. I apologized profusely to the mother of the birthday boy and said I wasn't on my parents' side in the matter. Yeah, that's right, little 12-year-old me had to apologize for my own parents. My dad yelled at me to get moving or I could walk home. So I said I'd walk home. It was literally a quarter mile down the street. I stayed and helped clean up the mess my brother had made. The lady thanked me and said that I was a good egg, but my brother was just rotten. Someone went out and got another cake, while the birthday boy had to take a shower because he was covered in it. All the mess was cleaned up and they redid the birthday song. After the party was over, the mother of the birthday boy wrote something out on a piece of paper. It was a handwritten invoice to my parents for the destroyed cake, along with a written threat to call police as someone there with a camera had caught everything. I handed the invoice to my parents and they really didn't look happy when they read it. Then they gave me the cash and told me to take it back to the lady. So I did. And that was pretty much it. Neither that kid or his family ever associated with my brother or my parents ever again. But the messed up thing is that at another birthday party months later, the same situation nearly repeated entirely. Again, my mother asked the parents to let my brother blow out the candles first. She gave a BS excuse as to why. Of course, they outright refused, and my mother acted like a total Karen. My brother tried to knock down the cake. I was on guard though and intercepted him. Then we were told to leave. It was after that my brother was no longer invited to birthday parties that were not relatives. And then, on my next birthday in that same year, when I turned 13, my parents tried to get me to let my brother blow out my candles. And my aunt tore into them for that. It was then I guessed that my parents decided that if I couldn't share, then next year I shouldn't have a party at all. And any previous readers know how that turned out. And as I said, guys, if you don't know how that turned out and you want to know, again, this is an update to that first part. It's behind the I button and again down in the description. Another whirlwind of a story about these two crazy parents. And like I said, when I read the first part, I get it. It's tough. Your son is autistic. I understand that. But there's limits to what you can get away with. Demanding to other people, other children, that your son blow out their birthday candles is a step too far. And then on top of that, just destroying the entire thing. I mean, come on, what's going on there? I do get the feeling that unfortunately OP probably has a lot more stories to tell about his parents and his brother, but wow. Those two, unbelievable. Now, our final story of today's episode is another update from a previous story. For that one, again, get down in the description and the pinned comment. The links will be there for part 1. I read this one just a few days ago. It's about the entitled mum that stole OP's iPad at the car dealership. Without further ado, let's see what happened next. So here we are then. Update. Entitled mum steals my iPad and demands I let her kid keep it. Hi all. It's been a stressful and anticlimactic week. I came back to work on my day off on Monday to talk to the police. The entitled mum apparently doesn't live in the county. She came here to try and buy a car that isn't available in her area, so they had to reach out to the police department there to talk to her. They took my info and told me to fill out a police report online so they can get started, which I did. The next day, the shooting in Texas happened. RIP those little angels. So the police assigned to my case deemed it not important enough and placed it on hold for a 2-day shooting drill that commenced the following day, Wednesday and Thursday. I finally got word back yesterday, on Saturday, that the entitled mum has been contacted and told to either give the pencil back or be charged with theft. I don't know what her reaction was, whether she went to the police or they went to her, or what kind of conversation they had, but I do know she handed over the pencil. 2 of her county cops just came into the dealer a few moments ago and gave me my pencil. They then told me that next time, if I can do it myself, then confront the entitled mum myself. And I was capable of doing so because of the info we had on her. However, they did say that they can proceed with the charges for theft if I wish to do so, but say I should think about her child, and that she returned the pencil anyways. Honestly guys, I don't want to make this political, but at this point I was exhausted and did not want to deal with the police or anyone in the legal system further. I just thanked the cops, offered them coffee, and sent them on their way. I really don't know if that was the proper procedure for police work, or if we're all stressed because of what happened on Tuesday. I live in a dominantly Hispanic area, and the tragedy hit us all exceptionally hard. I don't even have the energy to be angry anymore. I'm just really tired and happy to have my pencil back. Now I have 2. I'll probably give my newer one to my little cousin, who wants to follow me in my art footsteps. She doesn't have an iPad, but her sister does, so maybe she can let her use it, I don't know. I wish I had a more juicy and righteous story about how the entitled mum was arrested and paid me money because of a stupid decision she made, but the tragedy humbled me to my core. All I have to say now is take care of yourselves, I love you, and thank you for reading. Yeah, and there you go. I guess not every entitled parent story has to have an unbelievable outcome or update where an entitled parent goes to jail or pays X amount of money, etc. The good thing is you got your pen back. You already had your iPad back, and now you've got your pen back, which is the only other thing that was stolen. So I guess that's a positive. For me personally, I totally understand what OP is saying here, and given the context of everything that had happened about the shooting, etc., she probably wasn't in the right headspace or didn't really care that much to press on and actually follow up with charges that may not have resulted to much anyway. And as for you lot as well, I agree with OP. You know, look after each other. It's a pretty terrible situation that's happened there. All I can say is, yeah, if you were badly affected by what happened, then yeah, look after yourselves. One last thing I've got to say though, just quickly is, these police, like, what are they actually doing? Sorry, but they've done nothing apart from say, take it into your own hands next time. So what, are they just inciting violence pretty much? It's not as if this woman's gonna say, oh yeah, let me just give you back the pen. That's not gonna happen. It didn't happen the first time. What? I don't know, just leaves a bit of a weird sour taste in my mouth. But hey, what can I say? Thanks for the update. Yeah, at least you got your pen back. Good stuff.